This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
You know, I've made reference to this before, and last night did not disappoint at all with the Cowboy Hour. They had Cowboy starting center Cooper Beebe on, and he was delightful. I heard enough from my drive here to home. It's about 15 minutes or so, and then kind of sat in my driveway and listened to a little bit more. But Brad Sham does such a great job with interviewing these players and kind of getting their backstory, and you kind of wonder, how does he pick some of these guys? I mean, probably some of them he picks because they've got a gift for gab and they've got a story to tell.
Good personality.
Good personality. And he is young. I mean, he is in his first year with the Cowboys, and he's the starting center for the Cowboys. He was picked out of the third round. He played at Kansas State the last 4 years. And so Brad was asking him about the difference between Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. And I didn't know that Brad Sham went to Missouri, and which they've got a fine broadcasting school there, and there's a lot of broadcasters that went to school there.
Number one, sports journalism.
Yeah,
department
it's
in
really
the country. Yeah.
Really good. And so later on he asked Cooper Beebe, he's like, well, who recruited you? And he's like, well, Kansas did, Kansas State did, and Minnesota did. And he goes, my brother went to Minnesota, and I saw that my parents struggled to try to get to ball games, and so I wanted to be close to home. And he'd already described himself as kind of a blue collar kid. Kansas City, Kansas, more blue collar than white collar. It's just kind of the tough neighborhood kind of deal. And he viewed some of the Missouri people as snobs. And then Brad Sham, as only Brad Sham can do, he's like, so when you pick K-State over KU, it was kind of like Kansas City, Kansas versus Kansas City, Missouri. And he's like, yeah, sure was. And then he also gave just a huge shout out to his backup, Brock Hoffman, because remember Tyler Biadasz left, and Brock Hoffman was the incumbent, that could have been the starting center, and he just talked glowingly about what a great teammate Brock Hoffman was and how much he helped him and everything along those lines. And so he said, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to help me because we're competing for the same starting position, and was just very complimentary of his teammate there. And then also talked about how he had to get aggressive with calling the signals because, he's playing along the same lines of guys that he looked up to, like, guys that are playing right next to him, and he's got to call the signals out, and he's got to be more authoritative and more aggressive, and they encouraged him to do that from the beginning of camp, and so he's getting the hang of it. But anyway, just another great week with the Dallas Cowboy Hour. If you have that chance, if you're on your way home from work or you're sitting on your back patio, these things they're really good, and it's almost like the coaches show that we have, Red Raider Football with Joey McGuire, when Chris Level gets to talk to the players at the end. I think it always humanizes them a little bit, and it gives you a different perspective of these young men, much like when Jeff Haxton talks to the baseball players as well, or the men's basketball players. Mark Finkner does the same thing with the Lady Raiders. I just think it kind of gives you a different perspective of that these are people too. They're not just players out there. They've got feelings and lives and a story to tell, and I'm always just kind of fascinated by the kind of the backstory of things. But anyway, so I thought it was really good last night with Cooper Beebe and kind of getting to know him a little bit more. But he, like I said, he was very well spoken and had a sense of humor to him, and also just a sense of innocence, which I think is kind of what you see with freshmen sometimes, and what you see with like rookies.
Sure.
And I think that's what kind of gives you, they're not jaded or clouded by money or things or, stardom yet. And you just kind of feel like, man, it just makes you feel good about sports because that's what you kind of like about sports sometimes is just how people just kind of take care of their business and do it in a way without doing the hey ho look at me thing, because he was not doing that at all last night. It was, like I said, it was really, really good. So that's my spin on that. 6:38 this morning here on the Morning Drive. I will have the Rangers and the Blue Jays. They're finishing up their homestand. This will be it for the Rangers, and the season's almost over. I guess you'd classify this as very disappointing, or just disappointing, or just like a lot of injuries, a lot of obstacles that got in the way of things. They just never really got on track. Just couldn't defend their championship.
Yeah, I think you'd probably call it very disappointing, just because, I mean, you're coming off a championship and you're hoping to continue to kind of compete for that, and you got to get to the postseason really to do that. And the reasons that you touched on there are understandable, as far as they had struggles with injuries this year, no question about that. So there's some of that goes on that you understand why things are like they are, but at the same time, it's all very disappointing.
Yeah. Seattle now just 4 back of Houston in the American League West. So there's still a little butt pinching going on there if you're an Astro fan, right? It's still a little
butt pinching.
Well, I mean, you're kind of just cinched up a little bit. You kind of just not feeling really comfortable, right?
Sure.
It's like you feel like maybe the collar's getting a little tight around you, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Maybe that's not quite the right word to use, but
you do you, Heinzer.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
September 17th, 2024. Here's Jeff McGuire.
Starting in 1941, for one of our favorite guys here, because he will appreciate hearing this, Dr. Mike Gustafson. Stan Musial makes his Major League debut for the St. Louis Cardinals, going 2 for 4.
Good start.
1947, Jackie Robinson is named Rookie of the Year by Sporting News. 1953, Ernie Banks becomes the Chicago Cubs' first black player. In 61, Fran Tarkenton plays his first NFL game against the Chicago Bears, coming off the bench to lead the Vikings to a 37-13 victory, also becoming the only quarterback to throw 4 touchdown passes in his first career game.
How about that?
1965, Chuck Harrison becomes the first Red Raider baseball player to get a hit in the major leagues, going 1 for 3 in a 4-2 Astros loss to the Cincinnati Reds. He made his debut on the 15th earlier, earning a walk in his lone plate appearance. 1981, Fernando Valenzuela sets a National League rookie record with his 8th shutout of the season. 1996, Dodgers' Hideo Nomo no-hits the Colorado Rockies 9-0 at Coors Field. And in 2005, Robert Johnson has 8 catches for 209 yards, and Texas Tech rolls up 650 yards passing in an 80-21 win over Sam Houston State. Happy Apple Dumpling Day.
I can get behind that.
I'm in.
A couple of notable birthdays. Happy
I'm
birthday.
also in on Robert Johnson.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Greatest failed Red Raider quarterback ever. Because he turned into a great wide receiver.
Happy birthday, former Red Raider baseball player Johnny Drost is 33. And you guys are going to have to help me with the name on this one. Pat Mahomes? There's no way I get that right. Anyway, he's 29 today. So
Drost is 33. Gosh, that makes me feel old. Goodness.
Kyle Chandler, the coach from Coach Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights, is 59. Phil Jackson, 79. Marcus Simeon, 34. And Rasheed Wallace is 50 today. And beginning early on the morning of September 17th, 1862, Confederate and Union troops in the Civil War clashed near Maryland's Antietam Creek in the bloodiest single day in American military history. The battle marked the culmination of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee's first invasion in the northern states, guiding his army of northern Virginians across the Potomac River in early September. The generals daringly divided his men, sending half of them under the command of General Thomas Stonewall Jackson to capture the Union garrison at Harper's Ferry. And that is this day in sports history.
6:48 this morning. Crazy that Mahomes is just 29.
I feel like that's surprising that he's that old. I would have guessed he was still younger than 29.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't have guessed he was 29 already.
Okay.
I would have guessed, not too much. I mean, if I'd sat and thought about it for a minute, it makes sense. But I would have probably said like 27 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, he's been in the league now 6 years or whatever. So, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's really more about the success for what he's achieved by 29 than anything else. Although the guy that you talked about at the very beginning, Fran Tarkington, by the time that he was 29 years old, had appeared in 3 Super Bowls. Unfortunately for him and the Minnesota Vikings, they lost all 3 of those. So I think Fran Tarkington would be looked at a lot differently, probably if he had won 1 or 2 of those. And it's not like he's looked at as a loser or anything like that, or as a guy that failed. It's just he's thought of as a very good quarterback who could run the football, and then pass. He had a lot of interceptions. The thing for him was he played 18 years, threw 342 touchdowns, 266 interceptions, over 47,000 yards, all of which were NFL records at the time of his retirement. His career passing yards still ranks him 14th all time, but again, they lost 3 Super Bowls, and they lost him to really good teams. The Dolphins at the second end of their back-to-back, lost to the Steelers during their run where they won 4, and then lost a Super Bowl to the Oakland Raiders in 1977 when they were in their heyday as well. So lost to good teams, but he was a really, really good quarterback that I don't think gets his due. He's really thought more of as kind of what he did on TV, like that's incredible. He was on Monday Night Football. He was on a number of different things. He was a smart guy, had a lot of different talents that he could do. But anyway, just a thought on that. Pepsi Man is on the road this morning. He said, "Good morning, guys, from Kansas City, Missouri. It's kind of messed up. We get a sorry White Sox update, but we can't get no Yankee update. Have a great day, guys." It's a little sour there. And then Jeff pointing out that really it was a Davis Martin update.
Yeah, that's a difference.
Yeah, that's a difference. That's a difference.
They would.
Yeah. And unlike normal times, they actually won the last game. So now they can win 4 in a row.
Tell the Yankees to bring up their 2 Red Raiders, and Jeff will update them every day.
When they're active, yes.
Did you feel a little more comfortable? I mean, they're up by 3 in the East over Baltimore.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, you don't want to jinx them?
Don't scare it away.
Okay, don't scare it away. Cleveland looks like they're going to win the Central. They lead Kansas City by 5. And so of the 3 division,
the Yankees and the Orioles still have a series left.
Okay.
So the Orioles could sweep and it like that. So
I was just going to ask you, of the 3 division leaders right now, which one is the shakiest? The Seattle and Houston have a series coming up as well in Houston. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. And then the Astros finish at Cleveland the 27th, 28th, and 29th.
So they got a tough schedule to finish it out.
Yeah, right now they're in the midst of a series with today's the 17th.
Padres.
So they start with the Padres, right? They finish up with the Padres tonight and tomorrow. And then they play the Angels at home. That's really weird. They're going to be in California. They're going to fly home, and they'll play the Angels at home for 4, Seattle for 3, and Cleveland for 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Astros just because they have the largest lead, right? What is the Guardians' lead now?
Guardians will lead by 5.
Okay, so they have the largest lead.
Yeah, over Kansas City.
Okay, so it's the Yankees. They're the ones that are on the shakiest ground.
And Cleveland starts a series with Minnesota. Then they go to St. Louis. They host Cincinnati. And then they finish up with Houston, as I said. And let's see, as far as the Yankees are concerned, the Yankees right now, they're in Seattle tonight. They have 3 games there. Then they go to Oakland for 3 games. Then they have the Baltimore series, the 24th, 25th, and 26th. And then they finish, this is really weird, they finish at home versus Pittsburgh.
That sounds like ripe for a collapse right there.
National League doesn't seem like much of a race, although the Dodgers lead San Diego by just 3.5. They're hanging around, those compadres. And as far as the Dodgers are concerned, they have a series next week with San Diego. So, man, schedule maker really knew what they were doing. Somebody points out that the Vikings have lost 4 Super Bowls. I'm aware of that, but Joe Kapp was the quarterback in Super Bowl 4, not Fran Tarkington. He had been traded to the Giants and then went back to Minnesota. And then the Dodgers finish at Colorado. That should be pretty easy work for them.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. Okay. I think this was the last question asked at the press conference yesterday. Coach McGuire was asked about the kicking battle. Has it been settled?
No, man. I think we're going to go. Both of them have done a great job. I appreciate you asking because, man, Reese and Gino, man, they deserve credit because those guys are really competing and they're both doing a great job. And, we'll send Gino out again this first week or this first kick. Hopefully it's an extra point, not a field goal, because we want to score touchdowns and kind of go from there.
Okay, so there you go. Mm-hmm. Now, I think the follow-up question for Coach Perry today is going to be, from what I understand, and I don't know if this person's going to make it. I asked the question of Coach McGuire about the kickers, and I wish that somebody had told me, hey, the follow-up question should be, if I was smart, I would have asked it. So if somebody misses a field goal, does that kind of ace them out, or where are we on that? So
that's just not the way to. That's. I mean, if you can't have a guy going out there being scared.
Well, I know, but I'm just.
I mean, everybody knows they have to perform, right? To get to play, right? But you can't. I mean, you can't live off of, hey man, one miss.
You're back to just kickoffs, buddy boy. Yeah. Or you're just back to extra points, buddy boy.
I'm sure that there's a lot that goes into what they're doing in practice and all that. As far as I'm concerned right now,
just don't mess around with it.
Don't even talk about it.
Okay.
Like, they're doing their jobs, they're killing it. I mean, like, I don't care if they don't figure it out all season long. Just keep making every kick, both of you.
Okay.
I'm good with it. That doesn't seem like a problem.
No, I'm not saying it's a problem. Just was this other person was really curious about that because he wanted to know if I was going to be there today, and I'm not. I'm not going to be there today.
I just I don't poke the bear. Don't mess with the tra-la-la, as you like to say.
That's
Chuck.
exactly right. I was thinking that. Don't mess with the tra-la-la.
Working. Maybe this is a situation. We didn't think this at the beginning of the year, where you really do have two.
Yeah.
It's not that you have two, so that means you don't have one, but you really do have two.
Yeah.
They're both doing their job great, so just don't talk about it.
Okay, don't mess with it. Okay. Do you want me to stop asking that question? I was just curious.
I know. If it helps you sleep better at night, knowing who the starting kicker is.
Well, I was just curious. I mean, I just thought that, we'd already broken down a lot of other things, and I thought, well, it's just, we haven't talked about this we hadn't talked about that. We didn't talk about it the week bore. So we hadn't talked about it.
Because it hasn't come into play.
Right. No, we got it right. Because we didn't really need the kicker at Pullman, Washington State, because we didn't really put him into kick field goals or extra points very much. Mm-mm. He had one kickoff and one extra point, and other than that, pretty much wasted time for them, because It's like, why am I here? You know, it's kind of like the New Orleans punter. You know, they all of their drives in their first game went for scores, and like the first 5 against the Cowboys went for scores, and finally the punter got in the ball game, and that was his first punt in the NFL.
Oh, he probably should give back part of his salary.
He's a rookie. Yeah,
I'm sure he'll offer. You think he's mad? You guys aren't using me enough. I'm not getting enough playing time.
Right.
How can I be an all-pro if you guys aren't letting me punt?
Yeah. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. The Cooper kicker, Patton, could start over both of those guys right now, both in all caps. I've been a high school coach 20 years, and he's the best high school kicker I've ever seen, and I'm not a Cooper coach either. Oh, okay. How about that? I don't know. But, you know, all I know is right now we got 2, which is better than having none. Right? Beats the alternative.
It's definitely better than that.
It's better than having...
It's even better than having just one. Because if you just have one and one of them, you know, trips down the stairs and falls, then you don't have any.
Well, and here's the deal. Here's the deal, Jamie. In the New York Giants game against the Washington Commanders on Sunday, the Giants kicker, Graham Gano, was feeling a little wonky going into it, and the Giants chose not to dress a backup kicker. And as a result of that, they Saturday had added him to the injury report with a groin injury. Then during pregame warmups, he injured his hamstring. He was hurting in pregame warmups, injured his hamstring on the opening kickoff. After that first Giant touchdown, he wasn't able to kick, so they had to use Jamie Gillian, and for the extra point, he missed. From there on, they either went for 2 on 4th down, or they went for it on 4th down in enemy territory, or because they couldn't kick field goals, or they went for 2 following conversions, and that game plan didn't work. They failed on both of their 2-point conversions, and the Commanders, using a rookie kicker, that kid hit 7 field goals.
And they scored all 21 points.
That's 21 points.
Coach Kingsbury's play calling in the red zone must not have been very good.
I was thinking about that. I was like, well, it kind of bogged down a little bit there, didn't it?
I feel like if you're a punter in the NFL, you should be able to be
kind of dual purpose,
a chip shot field goal maker. Right?
I mean, you got enough time when you're.
That's what I'm saying. What are you working on the whole time?
I'll bet you.
Again, we're not expecting him to drill 52 yarders.
Right.
But like a
25-yarder.
25-yarder.
Yeah, they got that girl that went out there and kicked for Vegas on Saturday. She kicked a 25-yarder. I mean, your punter ought to be able to do that, right?
I would think
your punter in a pinch should be able to make an extra point.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's asking too much.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you got enough time during practice. I wonder if Coach Kingsbury has the media availability, like as an offensive coordinator. He probably missed me asking about, man, your kicker was really good, Coach. I bet he missed me asking that question. His offensive coordinator availability with the Commanders. You think? No,
probably not.
Probably not.
Is there a strategy in kicking all those field goals, Coach?
See? I mean, memorable. Caught him off guard, didn't it? He said, yeah. Well, I mean...
Have you asked Coach McGuire if there's a strategy with using 2 kickers?
I haven't. I've tried to be smarter with my questions, and what I've really tried to do is be cut to the chase and not show off my expertise, when asking questions. Because some of the guys are, they get a little long-winded with, questions, and it's like, okay, I mean, I know you're smart. Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Just ask the question.
Question took so long they forget what to answer.
Right.
Kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or
the question is actually just a statement for them to comment on.
Yeah, and Matt Wells would always ask, he was kind of a smart aleck about it. He would always say, "Is there a question?" Which was fair. It's just when you're not
100%.
Which fair. It's fair, but when you're not winning games, it's not helpful. Mm-hmm. But it's fair.
I just want one time to say, whenever he says, "Hey, Coach, can you talk about? I want one person to say, "Coach, will you do an interpretive dance about this?"
Or could you sign it to us on the radio instead of talking?
Speaking of questions, Jamie's question of the day is next. It's always insightful.
It's probably just going to be a statement.
Statement? Yeah.
I'll let you guys comment on my statement.
I always love that. Is there a question there? Oh, yeah. It's a good point. It's fair. It's a fair statement. Fair statement.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen, I got a two-parter for you today. You get to be positive and you get to be questionably negative.
Okay.
So all the things that we saw on Saturday that were an improvement over the previous Saturday, we all feel like it was your best performance of the season. Of those things that were so much better and improved from one Saturday to the next, which one do you think is legit and it will stay that way the rest of the season? And which one do you think is fool's gold?
Fool's gold. Well, I think anytime you get 3 turnovers, that's makes you feel like that all of a sudden you're this takeaway king. So I feel like the take 3. While I love the take 3. I love that concept. I love that mindset. I don't think you're always going to get 3 turnovers like that. And certainly getting a pick 6 for an easy 7 points that's cocaine money. Really, is what that is. I mean, you're just kind of playing with just.
I never had this cocaine money. What is that? What does that look like?
Oh, it's kind of a sales term. It's just kind of
sales term.
It's flash in the pan, money. It's not going to be there every month. It just, I was accused of that once by on highest of a certain piece of business. Well, that's cocaine money. That it's not going to be there every month, right? So a pick 6 is cocaine money. Okay.
Explain the analogy to me.
Again, it's not always reliable. It's only going to give you a short time high. It's not going to be there it's not going to be sustaining.
Oh, so the analogy is that cocaine is only short sustaining.
Yeah. I've never done it.
High.
It's my understanding. Okay. I told you.
There's so many questions here.
I had no idea.
You'll get answers to, and I don't know that I want all these answers either.
Okay. So anyway, that's cocaine money, and then I think you're going to be able to build on because your receiving group and your tight end group is so good, but you're going to have to really continue to rely on your offensive line to be able to provide protection. But I think this play action pass, and I think being able to go over the middle, and I think being able to go deep is something that you're going to be able to continue to build on from your offensive standpoint.
I realize that for some of what I'm about to say, I'm going to be talking out of both sides of my mouth. I think the fool's gold is you passing over the middle. I think that was more of a product of the defense you were playing as opposed to something that I think you're good at.
Why, Jeff? Why disappoint us all and say that?
You asked the question, man. I'm just trying to answer it. I haven't seen enough yet where that's a consistent weapon for you to use. When you're using it effectively, it's phenomenal. I do think a lot of teams try to take that away from you because of how good it could be, but also I don't expect that to be throughout. I'll need to see a couple of weeks of that before I start to buy in that that's going to be the norm.
Well, and I would say in the history of Zach Kitley, it's not been the norm with his play calling.
Yeah. He's an outside guy. And that's fine, but I'm not anticipating a lot of throws over the middle or a lot of use of your tight ends in the passing game in that regard. One thing I do think is something that you can rely on, and this is because we've been able to rely on it every time he's been in the game and doing what he does, probably the best we've seen it since DeAndre Washington. I think your offensive passing game is going to be better because Taj Brooks is in the backfield picking up linebackers like a vacuum cleaner picks up dust. He absolutely decleated a couple of guys on blocks when they were coming in. and that's something you can take to the bank. So I will carry Taj Brooks wherever he wants to go because of what his ability to do, pick up the pass rush.
Okay, so my thing that I think is legit that we will see all season long is running the football. I think Taj Brooks is elite. I think he's special. I think he's a really, really good college running back. And I still don't think that you were awesome blocking for him on Saturday. I just think he makes guys miss in the backfield. He breaks tackles. He does great. He makes great plays out of, difficult running lanes. And so I think that's not going to stop. As long as you can keep him healthy, I think you have a great chance to be a good team running the football, just like you were last year. And that's part of the reason why I feel like this one is not fool's gold, is because that's who you were last year. You've proven that you can be that team. So I think that this team will continue that. The thing that I think is fool's gold is, getting pressure on the quarterback. They had some issues with their offensive line coming in, and it showed. And I felt like I told you, I felt like you got pressure a bunch in the quarterback's face, and I don't think that's something that's going to be a strength for this team all season long. So unfortunately, as much as I'd like to see it, and as much as I felt like it helped you defensively, I don't expect that to be the norm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Somebody says this, I think more so than the defense, Taj playing can control throws down the middle. With play action, he forces the linebackers to play slower, having to keep eyes on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody thinks that random drug tests might be in order. Receiver routes and catches. Somebody said that. Okay. I apologize to the person that said they were dropping their kids off from school. Love having the cocaine money talk. Can't beat it. Maybe tomorrow we can do the birds and the bees. Nah.
Yeah, I think I got Sneed filling in for me tomorrow. That seems like a conversation for Chuck and Sneed, not me.
I don't think I can handle Chuck listening to Chuck explain all of that. Yeah, I don't think you want to. I think we had a little bit of that Friday with Rob Rowe, but anyway, it's a different story. 7:38 this morning here.
What the hell did you and I miss, Jamie?
Sounds like nothing. Yeah. I really want to think, Jeff, going back to your comment, I want to think that we found something this week and that our offense is evolving a little bit, and that we will see the Red Raiders continue to, like Chuck said, use the play action, try to move the ball down the field, be a little bit more vertical than horizontal, and also use the middle of the field. I'm hoping we're seeing this offense, just improve, evolve, and figure out what they can do. You've got talented receivers. You got to find ways to use them, get the ball in their hands.
Well, and I think the other thing, the whole key to that is keeping Taj Brooks healthy, because that's the genesis of all of that stuff that we just talked about.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. It's great to have you with us today. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet97.3.com for that. We'll have the high school fan zone tonight at 7. Then Astros baseball tonight at 8:10. They play the San Diego Padres in San Diego. Okay, that'll be tonight. Coaches from Monterey and Lubbock High, who should be relatively happy, although we'll hear that. Well, we got to put that game behind us. We already put that game behind us. We got to focus on this week. Which is great. Mm-hmm. Which is great. I mean, by the time you get to Tuesday, your 24-hour rule is way, way, way expired. But we'll do a little recap of last week's victories for both those teams as Monterey beat Franklin 36-14, and Lubbock High was a winner over Snyder, I believe, by a single tally. Yep, 27-26, moved their record to 2-1 of the season. They have a toughie this week. They'll play Lakeview on Thursday. And Monterey goes on the road. They play at Odessa, the Broncos. It ain't Permian, but it's It's a road game. And I don't know how Odessa's doing this year or not. I'm sure it'll be. It's a challenge. But, I mean, when you kind of look at Monterey this year, I mean, the week before they lost to Wiley, 29-28. I really liked how Judd Thrash, their head coach, handled their situation with the missed field goal. They were lined up to win it. Monterey apparently has a very good field goal kicker. Just, he had a freshman snapper and, I think he's a sophomore. It's two sophomores. Anyway, the bottom line is, first-year guys on the varsity, one snapping, one holding. And they muffed it and weren't able to get the kickoff. And Coach Thrash, immediately, taught to those kids about, hey, this wasn't the only mistake that we made tonight. It wasn't the only reason we lost tonight. There were other reasons that we lost tonight. And then he texted their dads as well to, just encourage them to help keep them in the game and keep them having their heads up and not getting too down about it. And, obviously that was a key play in the ball game. But again, there's lots of times you can look back at games and go, well, if we'd have done this a little bit better or this a little bit better, or hadn't fumbled here or had completed a pass here or whatever the stakes are. But anyway, Coach Thrash went over that last week at the luncheon for the high school coaches, and I just thought it sounded like he did a really good job with that.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, that's the deal there. This from Red Raider Charlie. Good morning. RRC here. See, we know him as Red Raider Charlie, so he doesn't have to type all that out every time. Please no fact checkers on this show. I listen for the sports info and the comedy of you three crazy people. Please no fact checkers. Let's beat Arizona State. Wreck 'em.
We can fact check each other, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's still allowed.
Yeah, we need to do that from time to time just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. Here's a couple things about Arizona State, and then we're going to get something from Coach Joey McGuire about them. From an offensive standpoint, Jamie, they have scored 75 of their 109 points in the first half. And then they've scored another 31 in the third quarter. So 106 of their 109 points they've scored through 3 quarters of play.
Okay.
So I think the point here is, don't let them get out to an early lead, okay? Their opponents have scored just 7 points in the first quarter through 3 games, 17 in the second, and all totaled 58 points. They beat Wyoming 48-7. Everybody's going to say, well, it ain't the Wyoming of last year because coaching changed, lots of kids left, it's a different team, blah, blah, blah. Well, then they played Mississippi State, and look, Mississippi State lost to Toledo last week, and they're already after that coach. They beat Mississippi State 30-23, and at the time we said, well, hey, it's an SEC school. I mean, you say what you want, but I mean, a win's a win, right?
Yes, but at the same time, it's not Mississippi State of what we know. I mean, I said this last week about Oklahoma State playing Arkansas and ASU playing Mississippi State. It's perfect scheduling, okay, because you get the respect of beating a big name or a school from the SEC, but those are not good football teams right now. And so it's totally brilliant scheduling. I don't think that – I mean, I think ASU has been a lot better than I thought they were going to be, but I don't think they've come anywhere close to playing a good football team yet. I mean, Texas State may be the best of the 3.
Okay, and they won that game on the road 31-28.
Yeah.
In front of 25,000 people. It's going to be a lot different here in Lubbock on Saturday when they play in front of 60,000 people.
I'm sure the reason they haven't scored in the fourth quarter that much is, I mean, number one, the first game they were way out in front. And then I guess the last 2 were closer games.
Yeah, but I mean, and their opponents in the second half, and maybe the defense gets worn down a little bit. Their opponents have scored 14 in the third and 20 in the fourth, so 34 of their 58 have come in the second half. I mean, one of the things that I think
probably some playing of second and third string guys too.
You would think so. I mean, but those last 2 games, Mississippi State and Texas State, those were real games. In the fourth quarter. They
were. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
The first game, 48-7. I get it, and I don't have the breakdown. But the guy that you have to kind of watch out for, well, 2 guys. their big running back, he's number 4, Cam Scatabo. He's rushed for an average 124 yards through 3 games, 3 touchdowns. His longest has been 39, his longest game. He has 373 yards and 68 totes. And then Sam Levitt, their quarterback, he can both run and throw, so he's a bit of a threat. He's not, it's more about containing him more than anything else. But he's a guy that's 43 of 72. He's thrown for 573 yards, 3 touchdowns, and has thrown just 1 interception.
Yeah,
so
Levitt scares me running the football. He's already rushed for, if you take away the sacks, he's already rushed for over 200 yards this year. He's a guy that, they've used him to run the football 30 times already. So he's a guy that is going to, they're going to have an offensive game plan that features him in the running game as well. So I think, and you talked about Scatabo, he's a good one as well. So I feel like number one focus for the Red Raider defense this weekend has to be slowing down their run game.
And Coach Tim DeRuyter said yesterday, he goes, we've got to be prepared for quarterback runs. If the pocket breaks down and we don't contain him, he can hurt you.
Yeah.
So we have to get better pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, like, Washington State's quarterback hurt you.
No doubt.
Yep.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.